Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's tutorial we're going to be creating a simple computer vision project. We're simply going to create a project that can detect the human hand and track the position of the human hand using artificial intelligence. So as the images show, this is how the project is going to look like. So if you're new to the channel, kindly consider subscribing and liking these videos. Okay, let's get started. So we'll be using a library called Mediapipe. So let me just go to Google and I'll show you what Mediapipe is. So Mediapipe is a library for machine learning and artificial intelligence that has been created by Google, and this library we're going to use it to create our project in this tutorial. So the first thing you need to do is actually you need to install this library. You need to have this library installed on your machine. So you can see if you go to official documentation, I'm going to put the link to this documentation in the description below. So you can see that we can go ahead and actually install Mediapipe very simply. So you just need 2 lines to install Mediapipe. But the first thing you need to do is to create a virtual environment for your Python project. So I'm going to create a Python virtual environment, and this command is what we use to create a Python virtual environment. This is going to work for Windows. It's going to work for Linux, guys, and Linux and MacBook. But if you're on Windows, I don't think this command will work for you. So you can just Google how. Then you have a folder in your directory called venv. Okay, now you can see I have this folder here called venv after I run that command. Once that's done, you need to go ahead and actually activate your virtual environment. And to activate your virtual environment, and this is the second command that activates your virtual environment, and once the virtual environment is activated, let me just bring back my terminal. You can see the name of the virtual environment right here in parentheses in front of the line. Just shows that the virtual environment is activated. And once that's done, we can go ahead and install Mediapipe. So you just copy this command and you go to your terminal and you simply do the paste in there. You just paste it and then you run that command. This will go ahead and actually install Mediapipe on your machine. Okay, so I already have Mediapipe already installed, since I don't want to take much of your time installing Mediapipe. Once Mediapipe is installed, I also want to do you can do a pip install, and then you can install OpenCV Python. So this will go ahead and install OpenCV on your machine. I already have also OpenCV already installed. So once I have all that's installed, I have created a folder called hands, and this is where we're going to keep our Python project. So I'm going to change directory into that file, so that folder. So you can see right now if I do an ls, it's completely empty. So I'm just going to open up this in Visual Studio Code. So let me just close the previous terminal I was using. So I'm just close it, the previous window of Visual Studio Code, and then I'll maximize this and close this. So in here I'm just going to create a file called hand_01.py, and this way we're going to keep our project to detect and track the human hand. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to be using the webcam, and this time you're going to detect the human hand, detect and track the human hand in a live video stream. So I'm going to go ahead and import OpenCV. So I'm going to import CV2, and CV2 is the library that we're going to use to open up our webcam. So I'm going to do a cap. So I'm going to say capture. I'm going to create a video capture object, which is going to be CV2. Just undo that. I'm just going to say CV2. Let me just remove this. Sorry. It's going to be CV2 video capture. So I'm going to pass in 1 here. I'm going to pass in 2. In your case, you probably pass in 1 if you want to use your default web camera, but I already have an external web camera connected to my video. That's why I'm going to specify 2. In case you want to pass a video, you pass in here the path to that. You pass in a string, which is the path to the video file. Okay, so I'm just going to go into a while loop. So while true, I'm going to get success, and then I'm going to get the image. So the spelling of success, I think it's this one, and then I'm going to get the image, and this is going to be capture.read. okay, you're going to read each frame, and I'm going to check, and then the success is going to tell us if the frame was read successfully, and then the frame itself is going to be stored in this variable called image. So I'm going to check if that was successful. If not success, so if not success means it was not successful, we're simply going to break out of this for loop. Okay, if it was successful, what to do, you're going to say cv2.imshow I am sure, and then I'm going to pass in the name of the window. I'm going to call it image, and then I'm going to pass in EMG. After that, I'm going to wait for 1 second to display another before we go to another frame. So I'm going to say wait key, and I'm going to pass in 1, and 1 is just 1 millisecond. So after each frame, you're going to wait 1 milliseconds before going to the next. In case we exit out of the while loop, I'm just going to do cap.release, and just like that, and then I'm going to do a cv2 dot close dot destroy all windows, just like that. So once I have this done, I can go into the terminal and try out this. So I'm going to just do an else. You can see we have that hand.py there. So I'm going to do python 3 and then hand.py and then run this, and this is going to open up my webcam. So you can see my webcam is open. Now I'm going to move my hand in front of the webcam. So this is my hand right here. So now the video stream is working. So what I want to do right now is go ahead and actually detect that the human hand, and then we can be able to track it. So for us to be able to do this, you're going to be using Mediapipe. Okay, so let's go ahead and import Mediapipe. So just going to say import Mediapipe, Mediapipe as MP. Okay, so Mediapipe, you're going to import Mediapipe as MP. What you're simply going to do is to create an instance that you can use to track the human hand. So I'm going to say MP underscore hand. This is going to be mp.solutions.hand. Okay, now we have this. We can go ahead and create an instance or an object. So I'm going to say hands, let's call it hands. Is going to be mp.hands, hand, just like this. So once we have this, what you're simply going to do right now is move ahead and go move on to tracking the human hand. So each frame we get, we're going to pre-process this frame, and after pre-processing the frame, you're going to pass it into this object that is going to detect all the human hands. So to do this, I'm just going to move down here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to say results, and then result, I'm just call it result, is going to be hands dot you're going to say dot process, just like this. And what you're going to do inside of this process, you're going to now convert this image into an RGB scale, because by default OpenCV uses a BGR scale. So you're going to convert this into an RGB scale. So you're going to do cv2 dot you're going to say cvt color. You're going to pass in our image, and you're going to say cv2 dot color, and you're going to say color underscore bgr2 RGB. Okay, just like that. And then yeah, that's all we need to pre-process our image. So this is the pre-processed image is going to be stored in this variable called result. So once we have that, what you're simply going to do is we are going to detect all the hands. So you can even go ahead and just do this. We're going to say print, we're going to say results dot hand dot multi. We're going to say multi underscore hand underscore landmarks. So this is going to detect all the hand marks. So I got the spelling of result wrong. So this is result, and then dot multi underscore hand underscore landmarks. So this is going to return to us all the landmarks of our hand whenever it's detected. So I'm just going to go ahead and run the code again. So we have an error there. So I think VS Code imported something. So I'm just going to go ahead, clear that off. So let's run this again. We have an error in our code here. It says that dot hand. Okay, let's move ahead and see where we got that wrong. I think it's here. We have to say hands, okay, not hand. Okay, hopefully I don't have any more errors. I'm just going to run the program again. Yeah, and it seems we also have to put also here hands instead of hand. So sorry for those errors. So I'm just going to clear the terminal and then rerun the code again. So hopefully we still have an error. So let me just see where that error is coming from. Okay, it's actually from here. So this is supposed to be an underscore, right? So it's supposed to be an underscore mp underscore hand, which is this variable right here dot hand. So it's going to track the hand module. Okay, So make sure that in here it is hands, and also here when creating the instance is also hands. Okay, once I have that done, I can go ahead and run this one more time, and hopefully I have not made any more errors. So once that this is started, you can see the camera is open, so it's printing none. Now once I bring my hand, you can see it's printing the locations of the landmarks of the hand. So you can see it's printing the landmarks. So if I remove my hands, it's printing none. If I bring back my hands, it can printing the locations of the landmarks of the hand. So great. So now that we have that working, I'm just going to exit out and clear the terminal. So now that you're able to track the human hands, let's go ahead and actually draw labels on it so we can track the position of the human hand. So I'm just going to comment this out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to check if this actually exists. So I'm going to say if this, right? I'm going to say if this means that you're not getting none, okay? Because in the previous we're getting none in the terminal. So in this check, we're checking if you're not getting none. And if that's the case, what you're simply going to do is you're going to say for hand underscore landmark in, and then I'm going to paste that again. So you're going to look through, and for each of these landmarks you're going to get the individual landmarks of the hand. And what you're going to do, you're going to just draw this on the or draw some signs on it. So what you're going to do, you're going to go up here and you're going to import one more thing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say mp underscore, this actually mp underscore drawing. So I'm going to say drawing, mp drawing underscore utils, and this is going to be mp dot solutions. We're going to say mp dot solutions dot drawing utils. So we're going to say drawing underscore utils, just like that. So once we have that imported, what you're simply going to do down here, you're going to go ahead and say mp underscore drawing utils dot draw, say draw underscore landmarks. So I'm going to say draw landmarks, and you're going to go ahead and pass in the image. So the first argument is the image. After the image, you're going to go ahead and pass in the hand landmarks, and then you're going to go ahead and say that mp dot mp is going to be mp underscore hand dot, you're simply going to say hand underscore, this is going to be all uppercase connections. Okay, so we're going to say hand underscore connections, and this is going to go ahead and draw all that on the image for us. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually try out this in the terminal, and this should work. Okay, so let me just format this a bit and then indent that. So this is just some formatting that I'm just doing. So once we have that done, we can just go in the terminal and try this out one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and simply do python, this python is lowercase, python 3, and then it's going to be hand underscore 01.py, and then run that. So this is going to go ahead and open up that. Okay, so once we are here, I can just simply point up my hand, and you can see it's drawing the labels on my hand right here. So what I want to do is actually customize this a bit. So let's go ahead. You can see it can completely track my hands. Even if I move my hands around, my hand gets tracked. Okay, great. It's a bit slow, but yeah, you can also go ahead and actually check how many frames per second this is. So let's go ahead and actually check how many frames this is, because it's a bit sluggish. So I'm just going to go ahead and write the code to check the number of frames. Okay, so to check that, I'm just going to create a variable here. I'm going to call it prev underscore time, and this is going to be 0. Okay, and I'm going to go and I'm going to import time. So I'm going to import time, just like that. And down here, what I'm simply going to do, I'm going to say current time. So I'm going to say current underscore time equals to time dot time. Okay, and then I'm going to calculate the frames. So I'm going to say frames per second, and with FPS, which is frames per second, is going to be 1 divided by the current time minus the previous time. So I'm going to say current time minus the previous time, and that's going to return to us the frames per second. And you can go ahead and actually convert this into integers if you want. So I'm going to say previous time, and the previous time now will be equals to the time, the current time rather. So I'm just say current time, just like that. And I'm going to convert this into an integer. So I'm going to say int, and then because I don't want floating point value. So once that's done, I can go ahead and actually run this one more time, and we can actually see those frames right now. So let's go ahead and actually try to plot the frames of the image. So I'm going to do cv2 dot put text. So I'm going to put text here. I'm going to put text on the image, and the text is going to be str, and I'm going to convert that into frames per second, passing the frames per second variable. So I'm just going to say I can even use an f string here, so I can just go ahead and say let me just delete all of this, and I try to use an f string from the go. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say fps, and then this is going to be str and then fps, just like that. So once we have that, I want to also specify where the text can be found. I'm going to specify 100 by 100, and then you're going to, this is going to be the starting point of that text, and I'm going to say cv2. cv2, I'm going to specify the font of that, so going to be cv2 dot font. Sorry, let me just get that right, font, and I'm going to use any font, and I'm going to specify the thickness, the scale of that font, and I'm going to specify 1, and then I'm going to specify the color, and the color I'm going to use 200, 200, 200. These are the BGR values, just like the RGB values. So these are going to be 200, 200, 200, and then I can specify the thickness of the text. I'm going to use just 3. So once that, I can go ahead and actually run the code again. So clear the terminal, run the code again. So one is running, so you can see that the frames actually is a bit, the text, the coloring is not good. So let me just clear that and can change the coloring. So let me just change this to be 255, and this will be 0. Let's see if that will be 200. Is just clear the terminal and try this out. So you can see the frames is showing here. So we're running at 5 frames per second when detecting the image, but when the image is not there, we're running at a higher frame, but when you bring back the image, it's running at a lower frame. So you can see the differences there. So once we have that done, let's go ahead and actually do a bit of customization to our plotting. So what I want to do, I want to loop through. Before we do that, I actually want to go ahead and actually put some styles here. So let me just go ahead here. I want to put some more parameters. So if you go to your documentation, you can read about these parameters that I'm going to use. So I'm going to say mp underscore drawing style. So I'm going to go ahead and import, I'm going to say drawing style. This will be drawing underscore style, not drawing utils. So drawing styles, and this is going to be mp.solutions dot drawing underscore style, just like that, drawing underscore styles. So once we have that imported, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to pass in those parameters. What I'm going to simply do, I'm going to say mp dot mp underscore this is actually drawing styles dot get underscore default underscore hand underscore landmarks underscore styles. So I'm going to say underscore styles, and then I'm going to simply, actually it's actually just style, and I'm going to call that right there. I'm also going to pass in mp underscore drawing styles underscore drawing styles dot get underscore default. So you're going to say default dot hand underscore connections, and then I'm going to simply call that as well, connections underscore. So after connections, it's going to be underscore style styles, just like that, and then I'm going to call that as well. So let me clear and make sure that I have no errors. So it's actually styles, not tools or whatever it's called. So once we have that done, what you can simply go ahead and actually try to run this, and hopefully I haven't made any errors. So let's go ahead and actually run this in the terminal. So clear the terminal and then run the code again. So once this is open up, I can just bring my hand here. So you have an error. So it says get default. So I don't know why that's default. It keeps throwing us an error. It says get default. So let me just see, get default. Okay, let me just go back here. So it's get default, get default. Okay, this is an underscore here and not a full stop, so it's an underscore. So once we have that, let me see, hopefully we don't have any more errors. So let me just run this one more time and let's see how it does. So it opens up the frame, and let's see if I can detect any hand. So we have another error here. It says get default hand connections Okay, I got the spelling of connections wrong, so this is a bit tricky. So connections right here. Again, if you get stuck with this, you can just go and read it from the official documentation. I just highlighted this part right here, so you can just get those spellings and other stuff from there, okay, in case you're getting errors. Okay, once I have that done, let me just try to run this again, and hopefully I get everything right this time. So we get it wrong again. I don't know why this let me just check. I think I'll just copy it from the official documentation, because I seem not to be getting the spelling right. So let me just copy this from here, and hopefully I haven't made any error. So it's just this part I need to copy, so I actually need just to copy this part, and I'm going to simply replace my current one. So I'm going to replace this one right here. So this one right here, I'm going to replace it with the one that I just copied, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually copy this one as well, and I'm simply going to paste it here. Okay, so that's the error that I was making, so I'm going to paste that right there. So sorry for those errors. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this, clear the terminal, and run this one more time. So now everything is running, and you can see we have the stylings right there on our hand. So it was just some typos that I was making, and sorry for those typos. So once you can see, my it actually plots those values on my hand, so you can see it tracks my hand in real time. So great. So you can actually, if you go and read the official documentation, so I'm just going to pull close this up and bring it to official documentation. There are different each of those points on your hand has a different index attached to it, so you can go ahead and actually read the official documentation. So 4 is the part of the term. So if I just bring this back and I try to run this one more time, and once this is running, I'm just going to go back to Google and bring this side by side, so you can see the different values here. So I'm just trying to find a position for this. Yeah, and just keep it here, and then you can see my hand right there. So you can see each of those positions correlate with the values that are specified in the official documentation. So for the term, it is just a 4, and yeah, if I just move this a bit aside, so for the term it is 4. Yeah, so you can see this is a 4, for the index is 4. So you can use actually those indexes to get the you can use these values right here to track the different hand gestures that we make. So in this case, I want to track the term. Okay, so let me just exit this. I'm just going to exit this. And what I want to do, I want to track the term. So to do this, we need to get the index that correlates with the term, and that's the index of 4 if you go back to the official documentation. So what I'm simply going to do, I'm going to go ahead and actually write another for loop down here. So I'm going to say, just bring it down here, I'm going to say for id comma landmark in enumerate. So I'm going to enumerate this. So enumerate, so the spelling of enumerate, so just enumerate. So I'm going to enumerate this. So I'm going to enumerate today I'm just having a lot of typos, so I'm going to enumerate, and I'm going to pass in land sorry, this is actually hand underscore landmark, and then I'm going to dot landmarks. So I'm going to loop through this. So I'm going to say the land landmark, which is the hand landmark, which is this one, and for each of those I'm going to get the different landmarks. So I'm going to loop through, and it's going to return to me all the landmarks. So I'm going to get the ID and that landmark. Okay, I can simply go ahead and actually print this out so you can see what you're getting. So you can say ID and landmark. Okay, so you can go ahead and actually print this out and see what you're getting. So clear the terminal and then run that code again. So I'm just going to bring my hand here in front of my webcam, so you can see it's printing the different landmarks out. So you can see it's returning to us the X and the Y positions of those landmarks in the image. So you can use the X and the Y positions to get the different position of each point of our hand, which is illustrated in the documentation. So we're going to use those to track the different position of the landmarks. So if you go back to the official documentation, there are 20 different landmarks that you can track, and the code returns the X and Y position of those different landmarks. So what I'm simply going to do, I'm going to get first the shape of the image, and you're going to use the shape of the image along with the landmark calculations to calculate the position of the different landmarks. So I'm going to say height or width comma center, and this is sorry, the channels rather. So you're going to return img.shape, and this is going to be the image. You're going to get the shape, which is going to return to us the height, the width, and then the channels, how many channels are there. Okay, in this case it's going to return to us 3 channels. So you can actually print this out to see if you're interested. So I'm going to do the center Y and the center Z, center X and center Y. Is this going to be int? It's going to be land mark.x, you're going to get the x position times the width. Okay, and then you're also going to say int, I'm going to say landmark dot y, and you're going to simply calculate the multiply this by the height of the image to get the center position of the x and the y. So once we have that, you can go actually print those values out. So you can just do print center x and center y. Okay, center y, and you see which values you get if you print those out on the screen. So you can just go ahead and actually print those values out. So what you can simply do here, you can just go in the terminal and try to clear the terminal and run your code again. So I'm just going to bring my hand, and you can see it's tracking the is printing the x and the y along with the indexes of my hand, which is right here in the terminal. So you can go ahead in the terminal and read about those, okay, and check those out. So what you just return the x, the xy, and then the center y and the center x, and you can see those values are the ones that have been printed here. So we can use those values to draw different data on our image. So in this case, what I want to do, I want to put some text on there. So I'm going to say cv2.put text, and then I want to pass in the image. I want to draw the text on the image, and I'm going to say str. And what I'm going to pass str, what I'm going to simply do, I'm going to pass in the id, and then I'm going to pass in the position of the text, which is going to be center x and the center y, and we're going to choose the font. So it's cv2 font, and you can choose any font you want, and I'm just going to say the scale is 1, and then the color is going to be 255, 0, 255, and then I'm going to say the thickness of the text, which I'm going to leave the thickness to be let me just say the thickness is 1. So that's done. We can go ahead and actually run the code again. So in this case, it's going to print the index of each finger on the finger itself. So whenever the camera opens up, just going to bring my hand here, you can see it's printing the different indexes as illustrated in the documentation. So it's printing the different indexes on each point of the hand as shown in the documentation. So if I go back to the documentation, and let me bring back this, and I'm going to put it aside here, so you can see that it relates with the different data points that have been printed. So you can see 4 relates with the term, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So it relates with those different values. So all that works fine. So you can actually decide to draw cycles on it, or to do you can do different things with these indexes. So you can check. In this case, let's do something. Let's just let's put a cycle on the 4th index, which is going to be our thumb. So I'm going to do I'm going to say if id, right, you want to track the thumb, and the thumb has an id of 4, and you can read the official documentation, or you can just run the code again and see that for yourself. Then you can do cv2 cycle. So cv2.cycle, I'm going to put the cycle on my image, and I'm going to specify x, y, and x, center x and center y, and then I'm going to say the radius is going to be 15, and the color you can say 250, 0, 0, and the thickness is going to be 3 of that cycle. So once we have that, you can just go ahead and run this again. So clear the terminal and then run this again. So if I run this time, and I bring my hands in front of the webcam, so I'm just going to bring my hand here, so you can see it's tracking the thumb, and on the thumb you have that blue cycle on the thumb. So that's what it does. So it just draws a blue cycle on the thumb, so right there. So what you can even go ahead and do is that we can reduce this. So we can just say, instead of doing fill, instead of specifying the index, we can do cv2 dot fill field, just like that. So if you say field, and we can just reduce the thickness a bit to become maybe like 2, and then we can go ahead and actually run the code again. So clear the terminal and then run the code again. So once I bring my hands in front of the webcam this time, we can see I have an error right there. So it says cycle. I think I made an error in terms of the radius. So the radius, I think you can leave the radius to be let's say the radius is 10. I think that value of the thickness, because you can say cv2 dot field, right? Once we find that thickness, we have to use field right here. So once that's done, I'm just going to go ahead and run the code again, clear the terminal, and then once I bring my hand in front of the webcam, it's going to draw a cycle right there. So you can see the cycle right there. So I made an error, so you can see now the cycle is completely filled, and it keeps pointing on the position of my thumb and at 5 frames per second. I'm running this on a CPU laptop, so it's a bit slower. If you run this on a GPU laptop, or something like it will be much faster. So you're running this around 5 to 6 frames per second, and that's not so bad. Yeah, so that's basically it, guys. So in this tutorial, how we just showed you how to introduction to Mediapipe and how to use Mediapipe to track the position of the hand. So in the future videos, we'll be building different projects using what you have just done, and we'll also talk about how to use Mediapipe for other functionalities like pause detection and other stuff. So if you're interested in that, so kindly consider subscribing to your YouTube channel and liking this video. I'm going to go about going over all these different things that you can do with Mediapipe. So if you're interested, kindly consider subscribing and liking this video. So see you in the next one. Keep safe.